Hey everybody, this is a little look at my Striped Raphael here in my 55-gallon gourami tank. This one's not super reclusive, but part of the reason it's not super reclusive is because it's so big, it doesn't really have a whole lot of opportunity to hide in this 55-gallon tank. It probably is getting about big enough where I need to move it now. I do have other fish that are sort of more cramped in their tanks that are probably take priority. In fact, the big pleco, you can see its tail sticking out in the back in there. That one is probably my fish that I most need to get out of the tank that it's in and put it in something a little more suitable. Unfortunately, I don't have anything more suitable for that fish, and so when that one comes out of there, it's going to have to go to the fish store and become a donation. Whereas my Striped Raphael here, I certainly plan on keeping it for the rest of its life. So it is, in a 55, but it's not cramped. It's just getting to the point where it probably would like a little more room. I could probably accommodate a little more room for it by simply removing some of the decor I've got in the bottom. Now, recently, I did expand the cave that the Raphael lives in. It normally stays basically in that bottom cave section there, and it was really, really cramped. It was basically having to lie in there on its side in order to even fit in there. And when it would try to get out, it would have to wiggle around, and it was really a tight fit. And oddly, once I opened the cave up a little bit and made it a little bit larger for the Raphael, it kind of stopped hanging out in there. I almost got the sense that the fish felt the sense of security being in that nice, tight, close quarters like that. And then when I opened it up, I basically ruined its little hidey hole, and it doesn't really spend as much time in there now. Now, after about a week, it did start going back there and spending some time in there again. But more often than not, I will come in here in the evening now and find it out and just lying on the bottom of the tank down here. Not that I'm complaining. I've had this fish for probably close to 10 years now. It's one of my earlier ones. And it is pretty substantial in size. It's not as big as that pleco we just got a little glimpse of, but it is pretty substantial. I mean, it's right up against the glass, and there's my hand. Its belly's probably good that big around by now. He's shaped like a tadpole. I always think of him as my little pork pie. But if you don't mind a fish that's not really active, they're really cool fish. I really, really like this one. This is definitely not one of the sort of reclusive catfish that I wouldn't buy another one of. I do have another one of those. Interestingly, in the same tank over here to our left, I've got a... Oh, it's actually kind of almost out right now. I have a South American Bumblebee catfish. Now, I don't know exactly what species it is. There are a lot of little fish that fall into this category and get classified as South American Bumblebee catfish. I know in the past I had one that was a Bumblebee jelly, and I was able to identify it because of its markings on its tail. This one I've never really been able to identify positively. Honestly, I've never really even bothered to try. I just think of it as a South American Bumblebee catfish. I've had this one for years and years, and it's really, really reclusive. I just put it in this tank not too long ago because I was just sick of it never being seen in the tank that it was in before, and I hoped when I moved it I'd get a little better look at it occasionally. And this tank does not have a whole lot in the way of caves on the bottom, and there's not a lot of room for the this reclusive catfish to hide. And so if you haven't spotted it, I don't know if you know what I'm looking at when I'm pointing at it. I'm hoping that's coming out well enough on camera. But that's more or less its back, just behind its dorsal fin. Its dorsal fin's kind of hidden up here, and then its head is out here a little bit further. So that's one that is really reclusive, and I probably wouldn't buy another one of those Bumblebee catfish. But the Striped Raphael, I've had, comments over the years. I've had people say that they hate theirs and they never see them and they'd never buy another one. They put it in their tank and that was the last time they ever saw it. I had that experience for the first, I don't know, maybe 6 months that I had it when it was still really small. I actually started out with it in this tank, my 29 miscellaneous. And I used to have a big plastic, it was a faux decoration. It was like a faux piece of coral structure and had a bunch of holes in it and air bubbles that went all up through it. And the Raphael used to hide inside that when it was really small. And eventually, as it got bigger, it became a little more outgoing. And then, as you can imagine, it didn't take very long to outgrow this little 29-gallon tank. And it moved over into this 55 years ago and has been in here ever since. So I'm a big fan. I think the Striped Raphaels are fantastic fish. That gives you an idea right there, comparing them in the same frame, how big that angelfish actually is. This is probably the biggest angelfish I've ever owned. This one is much bigger than my hand. I mean, even the body itself of the fish is huge. And then, of course, you got all that amazing flowing fins and everything. It just makes it look massive. But as I was saying, I definitely recommend the Raphaels. I've never had a spotted Raphael, but from all I can tell, it's basically the same basic fish, just a different paint job. But otherwise, behavior, diet, water parameters, everything else is going to be pretty much the same. So there you go, everybody. A little look at my Striped Raphael while he was lying out. We will get a better and more in-depth look at my gouramis as they start to mature. I did recently put 8 pearl gouramis in here. It looks like 3 of them are definitely males, and I have a few others that are still small enough that we'll see. Maybe I might get lucky and get another 1 or 2 males, but I definitely want some females in there to get those males into that prime spawning color. I've never actually seen pearl gouramis in their full glory because they are amazing when they are not in spawning colors. Getting them into spawning condition and breeding condition is going to be incredible to look at, so I'm really excited about that. So make sure you're subscribed and you won't miss that or anything else I got coming up. You never know what it's going to be with me. And I'm going to say thanks for watching that one. Don't forget, I've got memberships available now. I always appreciate all the super thanks I get. I've got another channel. Check it all out on my channel down below. I got all the different links and so on and so forth. You know the routine by now. So thanks again for watching this one. Hope you enjoyed that. And I will see you real soon on the next one.